What's up, humans? Welcome to the Human Music Podcast. I'm Luke Rain. My co-hosts are Tesco and Rip Kinney, and we are all music producers, artists, and producer coaches. This show is where we discuss all things music production and interview amazing creatives about their origins, their process, and whatever else comes up. This week is episode 95, Smart Boy on authenticity, consistency, and nostalgia. Smart Boy is a musician, producer, DJ, and vocalist from Aberdeen, North Carolina, living in Atlanta, Georgia. He has a lifetime of music experience, from playing music in church, to marching bands, to production, engineering, DJing, and even music education. He hosts Smart Wave Radio, which you can catch every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern on all social streaming platforms. And you can even submit your music to the show live at the link right down in the comments, in the description, rather. The song of the week is Asteroid Belt by Colur Creative, Keva Soullilly, and produced by Smart Boy Beatz. You can support our sponsors by clicking in those links down below. Dojo TV, which is free producer live stream classes. Tesco's Patreon, where you can get educational content, project files, and access to Discord, track feedback, and private lessons. The weekly download, where you can learn from Ill Gates and his private weekly group lessons and get access to 250 plus more episodes in the archive for just $20 a month, and guest practices, where you can learn from Seth Drake at the Approach Institute. He's the best engineer we know. Your first class is free. Links to the song of the week and all those sponsors are right down below, and you can find us at our link, thehumanmusicpodcast.com, where you can find our socials, free sound packs, and a whole lot more. All right, y'all, let's get into this episode.
Hello, people of Earth. This is Tesco with Rip Kenny and Trap Jesus, and you're listening to the Human Music Podcast. Woo!
Human Music Podcast. I like it. Yo, what's up, humans? It's the Human Music Podcast. You know, I'm Luke Rain here with my boys Rip Kinney and Tesco. We do this. And today I'm really excited. We got my homie, the one and only Smart Boy Beatz.
Hey. Oh my God, everybody. I like it. Yeah, I like that.
That's that crowd noise, you know. It just follows you everywhere, you know. So I'm sure you're used to hearing that. It's like in the back of your mind and out in the real world, just when the people just cheering, like at the grocery store, and you know,
definitely a small roar. You know what I'm saying? You got to subconsciously keep a small roar back there. So like, you know, we're cheering for you, man.
Woo! People doing the wave and shit.
Yeah, it's a whole wind going on in my head right now. Everybody's like hype, man.
Going around the stadium and everything.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. So, you know, the way we usually kick this off when we got a guest is we ask you, Smart Boy, what is your superhero origin story? How did you become the dope music maker that you are today?
Well, this one time at band camp. So I grew up in a pretty musical family. My mother sings. My two older brothers. We grew up on my mom's side too. My two older brothers, they ended up becoming the musicians at the church that we were going to at the time. And you know, black churches in America is like music central. So we were I was completely just surrounded by music all the time. So my oldest brother played organ and piano. My middle brother played drums. Eventually, he picked up like piano, and then my mom was the singer and the director of the youth choir. So I have a choice. I was there every Sunday, regardless. You know what I mean? But from there, I picked up an interest in playing the drums, percussion, all that stuff. Eventually went on to join the band in 6th grade. So I'm a band nerd. Shout out to all my band nerds out there.
Yeah, me too.
So, you know, everybody's drawn to percussion and drums at first, but like, you know, my brother did it. So I was like, yeah, I want to do it too. So middle school was fun because I had a director that was kind of like young and new and fresh. So he wanted to try everything and I wanted to try everything. It was the first time I ever seen like a middle school drum line. We had one there. So like I was like, music all the time, and then church and everything. Eventually high school band, uh, all the way through there. I actually started singing for real, for real. I mean, I sang at church, whatever. I had a good voice, but like I didn't really have anybody to tell me that my voice was good until my senior year of high school. It's too late, but I mean, I still like sang a bit in high school. Shout out to my director James Brown. So didn't go on to college, do the same thing, more music, become drum major in the marching band. Join a fraternity. Uh, yeah. So like the whole time, in middle school actually, like in the middle school, 8th grade going to ninth grade or whatever, I stumbled onto FL Studios because my middle brother was making beats and making music with a friend of his. My guy in the background, shout out Rocky, shout out my friends in North Carolina that's making music and everything. And I was like, little brother tendency, what you doing? I want to do it. What you doing? What you doing? I actually started out. I know I'm jumping around a bit.
Oh, it's
With my
fine.
origin story. I don't know if anybody out here knows about this, but Hammerhead Rhythm Station from like years ago. Years
It
ago. It's
sounds
okay.
vaguely
It's okay.
familiar.
Y'all should Google Hammerhead Rhythm Station. That
I'm
was
gonna
our
write that down.
favorite, bro. It was like a free like online engine. It was like they were ahead of their times. Um, Hammerhead Rhythm Station was online. It was free, and we found a way to record like what we did in Hammerhead Rhythm Station because you couldn't download it or whatever. Found a way to record it inside of a program that like did audio recording or whatever, but the sound, just like we're doing now, the sound would just like cycle through like it's a regular like audio. It was recorded from the computer, so it was like clean. So that's kind of how like me and him kind of started making stuff or whatever. Then we discovered FL Studios, and it's been on from there, man. Like through high school, through college, and DJing and all of that stuff. Well, I'm jumping ahead. All the way through college making beats. Started making beats in high school. There's a graveyard called Reverb Nation. If y'all want to listen to some of my high school
Big
high school
throwback.
beats,
Woo!
rhythm Reverb Nation, man. That's where we started. That's where it all
Reverb
began.
Nation from the Rhythm Station.
That's where and after that I went to SoundCloud and started uploading some of my beats and stuff like that. But I never thought I was making some creative stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because like as a music person, you hear kind of everything. And you want to put it all in there, but it wasn't until like later on down the road. I started DJing like in college and a little bit after that, and teaching a lot of music, a lot more music, and teaching drum lines and all that stuff. So it affected how I was producing music because I started to think more about balance. I started to think more about ensemble pieces, like different like elements that could go inside. I started like trying to sample classical music and like percussion pieces that I was playing in college and like putting them into like my production and stuff. So yeah, like going to school for music and all of that stuff kind of helped me perfect or like even get better at producing music. You know what I'm saying? The whole time I wish I would have been like more confident uploading stuff and putting videos out and stuff like that. Because now, obviously, we're all seeing that people are getting rich off of like YouTube and stuff like that. But like, who would have thought like we'll be here in the future?
I know, right?
But yeah, man, that's how like well, rounding the end of this whole thing. So was in North Carolina. I'm originally from Aberdeen, North Carolina. I say Pinehurst or Fayetteville because a lot of people don't know where Aberdeen is. Very tiny town. Very tiny town. Um, but lived there for my whole life, and then when I went to college, I kind of moved out to Pembroke, North Carolina, where my college was.
What's that college?
The University of North Carolina at Pembroke, where I
Oh,
joined.
yeah.
When I joined Phi Mu Alpha Symphonia fraternity too. That's a music fraternity. Real shout out to all my brothers.
That's dope.
Woo!
And where was I going with this? Oh yeah, moved to Raleigh for a little bit, like probably a year and a half, and then I started coming out to these events with this group that used to exist called I Standard. Shout out to Hatch and Sis and Don. They kind of started a movement that like really, really helped jumpstart a lot of people's careers. So I did my first beat battle showcase. Again, I was making beats and stuff. I had no idea what beat battle culture was, right? Making beats, putting them out on YouTube, little video here and there, whoop. And I came across this iStandard thing in this beat showcase. It just happened to be in Raleigh. This is 2016. I did my first beat battle showcase or whatever, and ended up getting second place.
Hey.
And that warranted a trip to fly to LA to go to their end of the year show.
Beats to the Beats.
Beats to the Beats. And that is where I met Luke Rain.
What's good?
AKA
Hey, the
Trap
boy.
Jeezy. Trap Jeezy in the bit. No, just kidding. That's actually where he became Trap Jesus. That's the year he
when
became
and where.
Trap Jesus. Is 2016. We were all there. 2016 in December, man. It was a good time. But since that moment in 2016 where I like kind of like saw that there's a bigger world out here and there's like a lot more to this like music producing thing or whatever than I originally thought. I've been just kind of running, you know what I'm saying? 2019 I moved out to Atlanta. I mean, I was doing like I was kind of just going back and forth between showcases here and there, whatever, Miami, all of that stuff. And then 2019, I got an opportunity to come out to Atlanta to teach high school, at Carver High School and teach chorus and music technology. So,
Wow, comes full circle.
Yeah, man. And that, shout out to AJ on the buttons. AJ is one of the like top mix engineers out here in Atlanta. I was in a session with him, and if he didn't answer the phone, I wouldn't be in Atlanta right now. It's crazy. Like, it's literally like if he didn't answer the phone to answer the call from his homie that called him about his school looking for music teachers or whatever, like I literally would not be living in Atlanta. Like literally. I went back because like I was living in like Lawrenceville, Georgia, which is like maybe an hour 40 minutes north of Atlanta. In 2018, I was here, doing the same thing, kind of grinding, networking, meeting people, whatever. There's anything to get my name out, anything to get my, passing out business cards. Y'all remember business cards before before the internet took over literally the next year? So people were like, I don't want a business card, just give me an Instagram.
Yeah.
But yeah, like 2018, I was doing like beat battles and showcases or whatever. I actually got tied up with Patchwork Recording Studios, ended up becoming one of their in-house producers, their beats program producers or whatever. So people can actually buy my music at Patchwork Studio. They can literally go there, ask them for my folder, and you know what I mean? And that's happened a couple times. Shout out to y'all who purchased.
That's dope. That's a cool model because like artists that come in like to already have good beats that like are gonna work, and B, like beats from people at the studio. That just seems like so symbiotic that like I love that model.
Yeah, man. And shout out to Patchwork for like putting that together and everything. Shout out to Oz. So yeah, like 2018, I feel like the work I did in 2018 kind of manifested what happened at the end of that year. Because I was in Lawrenceville from February, I believe, until like August. Like things happen, family stuff, personal stuff, friendship stuff, whatever. Things happen, and then you're like, you know what? I can either stay in this mud, or I can, get out while it's early, find something else to do, and then like come back later. And that's what I did. I moved back to North Carolina, started DJing again, picked up where I left off, and came back to Atlanta for a session literally in December of 2018, got a job offer, and then moved back out here in February 2019. I've been here ever since.
Man, that's funny how that works, because I've had my phases where I've been like so in my world and just been in the studio and just grinding it out, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna make so much progress, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do this, and then you get out in the real world for a bit, and you just start like mingling again with people and networking, and then it's like the tiniest like little thing ends up being like one of the biggest moves you made, and it just comes from like that serendipitous moment of just hanging out with the homies at the right time, and like some just falls into place.
For sure. Like it was kind of, the cards kind of set themselves up. You feel me? Like I think Luke, you were there. 28 Beast of the Beast 2018.
Yes, I was.
Yeah, and AJ, just out of the kindness of his heart, was giving out just some gifts. He gave some he gave like a really really nice amp to my international homies that were here. Shout out Black
Yeah, I
Belt,
remember.
Lawless, and Fuego X actually.
Yeah,
And then he
shouts to
brought
those
me
guys.
up too. I was like, what is this? What's going on? He brought me up. He's like, I appreciate people that, hard working. You can just see the development and tenacity or whatever. So I want to give Smart Boy some free studio time to come down and work with me on mixes or whatever. I'm like, it was like very emotional moment. I was like, oh man, this is amazing. And because I booked that, it was early first week in December or whatever when that happened. When he gave me the time at Beats to the Beats, and then I booked the session off on the 18th or something like that. Drove back down to Atlanta from North Carolina, and he answered the phone that night, near the end of our session. I brought my homie from North Carolina that can sing really well. Shout out Caleb Sasser. I brought him with me just so we could have somebody to record something. And he answered. He was like, "Let me step out for a second, answer this phone call," and that literally lit everything on fire. So
crazy. I wanted to ask, bring it to the present and ask about, what you've been doing with Smart Boy and what's been inspiring you lately. What's kind of your sound? If I hop over to Atlanta and I ask for some Smart Boy beats, what am I in store for?
Man, you can get a little bit of everything. I'll be honest with you. I again being a musician that is also a producer is fun but weird at the same time, because you kind of hear everything a little bit differently, or you kind of interpret everything a little bit differently. So I mean, you'll get a little bit. I'll say like this, and forgive me for the vague answer. You'll get a little bit of everything, but you'll probably get exactly what you're feeling at the moment. You know what I'm saying? I create a lot from emotion and feeling and reluctantly sometimes trauma and all of that. So you might get a bounce beat that's crazy, you know what I'm saying? Very heavy percussive, because I am a percussionist. Very percussive, but it's also if you get something that's a little more chill or whatever, it's definitely going to be very melodic and full of color and lush, and it's gonna kind of engulf you. The music, I always try to create an experience with my production, and that's the thing I feel kind of sets me apart too. It's just not oh, I'm putting these. Now I can just put elements together and make it sound good, but there's always going to be a part of me that wants to just take it up an extra level, or add some, instead of a typical hi-hat, add pitch it down, or slide it off the grid a little bit, or change that 808 out, you know what I mean, change the key or whatever, you know what I'm saying. I'm always kind of approaching from that standpoint. So you'll definitely get something bouncy, and you'll get something that's percussive, but you'll get something that will be a moment in time for you. It'll be you know what I mean. I like to throw some little surprises in there too. So.
Yeah, hell yeah. Are you doing a lot of sampling nowadays? Are you creating from scratch a lot? Is it a mix of both? What's your kind of creative process like?
It depends on how I'm feeling, man. I'm in my studio right now, and what I usually do is I got a lot of homies that sends me a ton of loops. Shout out Dunk Rock, shout out Skrilla, shout out J Note. Yeah, a lot of homies send me. Excuse me, a lot of homies send me loops, so I might cycle through those. Oh, shout out my homie Jubilee as well. I'll cycle through those. Charlie, not Charlie. I keep calling him Charlie. Lawless Pride.
He's Charlie.
Yeah, that's my boy. I love Charlie.
Hey,
But
man.
Lawless,
Lawless from out in France.
Yes, sir. We actually have a tape out called After Dark. You can hear some of his samples live. But I'll
That
listen
tape's a
to
jam.
Yeah, I'll cycle through some of those and be just see how I'm feeling. You know what I'm saying? Or I'll put a drum pattern together and go from there. But it's rare that I sample. When people say sample, a lot of times they just think kind of old school or whatever, or stuff that already came out sampling that. So I don't do a whole bunch of that. But I feel when you're making a loop, making something from a loop, or you're manipulating a loop that somebody sent you, that's low key sampling anyway.
Yeah,
you know what
totally.
I mean? It's kind of the origins of where this whole thing came from. You know what I'm saying? It's all sampling at the end of the day. But you know, more or less like kind of from scratch or like from inspiration from a loop or I posted a TikTok last night of this clip from this guy that was visiting, I think somewhere in Africa or whatever. The guy was like, "Very good, very nice." And I like took that and like there was another guy who like played some keys over. I was like, "Ooh, that's a sample." So I took that and made that a whole like house track or whatever. It was kind of dope.
That's sick.
Yeah. So yeah, man, just depends on the mood, honestly.
Yeah, I feel that. And you said you make your own music too, yeah?
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
What's do you got like a different approach for your own style? Do you also just kind of go in and just whatever you're feeling kind of thing, or do you feel like you got more of a sound with your own style? Are you like more influenced by any specific things versus when you're producing for other people?
Well, yeah, so to speak. But it's also I'm trying to be better about this particularly. Well, moving forward, like being more confident in like what I produce for myself or like what I put out for myself, and then taking that same confidence that I do with other people's music. Because like if you gave me a project or like I need blah 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 done to it, I'm gonna rip it apart completely, put it back together, and like give you something like recognizable, but like completely like that feels good. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it's hard. It's harder for me to do that with my own stuff, just because like I'm a little more self conscious about it. I was like, oh, it's me, so I gotta. But it's like, no, you do this same thing with everybody else. Just do it for yourself. You know what I mean? And that's honestly just from like from the Panda Bear up until now, it's just been a thing that I've been trying to do a lot more of is just like put my oxygen mask on first before I do it for everybody else, because like don't I deserve to breathe too? Don't I deserve to have like phenomenal feel good music too? And I was able to do that this past Christmas with this song that I did for my guy Andrew, and it's on this project that we put out called Destination. Actually, me singing on there, rapping on there, whatever. You know what I'm saying? Again, very vulnerable place for me to be, very vulnerable place for me to come from, whatever. When I'm making stuff for me to perform, but I did it. You know what I'm saying? I was just kind of just no holds bars. Whatever I'm feeling is gonna come out, and I'm gonna put it out because at the end of the day, like, the people that support me are gonna listen to it anyway. We kind of go out our way trying to be perfectionists and be like, oh my god, I got to get this person to listen to it. I got to get that person to listen to it. Like, no, music is vulnerable. Music is supposed to be a form of very vulnerable form of communication. So if you have something to say, if you have something to just release into the world, release it into the world. And it's gonna, and every time, never fails. There's gonna be somebody out there or some group out there or whatever that's gonna be like, I'm glad you did that. I needed that. I related so much to that. Oh, yo, this is my favorite song. I put this on my workout playlist. I play this when I'm trying to relax. You know what I'm saying? It's always that reaction. You know what I'm saying? But like to, you know, anticipate that or try to, not prevent. What's the word I'm looking for? Try to like, make that happen before you even put it out or before you even put a plan behind it or whatever. It's just kind of backwards. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
Totally.
I agree. I think you make a really good point with just start with the vulnerability. Start with what's like authentic to you and what you're actually feeling, and then let it hit the world because somebody else needs to hear that. And if one person's day is made better, if one person gets helped through that tough situation, if one person like smiles or goes harder in the gym because of what you did, like, ain't that worth it right there?
yeah, yeah. And you notice that there's a lot of bad music out. I'm not gonna cap. Like, I'm a musician, I love music, whatever, but there's a lot of just bad stuff out. But you'll notice that like the bad stuff or like the stuff that's not, as particular as, or refined or whatever, those are the things that like, gives people a shot of dopamine. Like, it gives them is, oh, I love this because it's silly right here, or I love this because blah 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 happens right here. This is imperfect. You know what I mean? And people, being a DJ, people will come to the club or come to the bar and like, yo, can you play that song that's from that YouTube video? I was like, yo, that's terrible. Like, why you? No, I'm not gonna ruin the mood here just so you can like, But it does something for people. That just goes to show, like, you don't know what your music or your thing is doing for people. You know what I'm saying? So like I said, it's a very vulnerable form of communication. But it might not be who you think it is, but somebody's gonna like, respond or say something or listen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's easy. Sorry, Evan.
It's always so interesting how like the art like almost changes once it's out in the world. Like you have this perception of it and you've shaped this thing and you think that it's like this thing and gonna work really well in like this setting. And then like once it's out, like your opinion is generally irrelevant on your own work anyways, but like then the rest of the populace like takes what you did and like totally conceptualizes it in their own way. Yeah. And it can mean so many different things to so many different people. I mean, even like the song that you maybe didn't think was that good, or so one of your homies was like, nah, that one's trash, like don't even put that one out. And then like that ends up being the one that like everyone loves, and you're like, wait, I thought this was like a throwaway release, and like, now like everyone is like loving it. Like that's like just speaks to the fact that like, you just got to keep working and keep putting stuff out that like you believe in, that you had a moment when writing it, you were like, wow, this is like kind of special to me, or even just like the ones, the projects that you're working on, and there's just like some moment at some point in that process where you're just like, fuck yeah, this is the shit. Yeah, like, man. Just keep doing that, keep putting those out. You don't know what's gonna happen, but people will always conceptualize it in their own way.
And that's the gift and the curse about this time that we're living in. All these advances has made it so easy for you to just like conceptualize something and put it into the world for them to create their own interpretations. Like there's so many songs that we probably love that the artist didn't intend for that to go that way. Like, oh no, I didn't mean that. You know what I mean? Like I wanted to, you know what I mean? But like we can it's a blessing and a curse to be able to like just conceptualize something, think about something, and like put it out and almost instantly. You know what I'm saying? Like we can literally record something. I can record something now, put it into the world, and like it's off to the races. You know what I'm saying? And also, the thing I'm learning to do is not like create the interpretation for other people so fast. You know what I mean? Like, because of the type of person I am and the type of anxiety I have sometimes, like, oh, no. I got to make sure everybody goes in this lane and like sees the same picture. But like, there's always a creative one in a bunch. You know what I mean? That creative person is always gonna be like, oh, but if you like look at it from this angle or look at it from here, it's a different, you know what I'm saying? So like,
that's a really good point. Like not explaining too much. Like giving your take on it, but leaving it open to interpretation. That's a really good point.
Yeah, because you shut people down. You know what I'm saying? And we already live in kind of an oppressive like culture and world and country and whatever. As free as it is, it's kind of like it's free, but only here.
Okay? Yeah, in this little box.
Only here.
This is the freedom zone.
Freedom, right? You know what I'm saying? But it's I don't know, man.
Yeah. It makes me think of this. I read it was like in the introduction of a book, and the book was kind of about this love triangle. And in the intro to the book, it was talking about how all art is basically a love triangle, because the creator of the art has this relationship with the art, and they have this interpretation and the reasons they put this passion into it. And then they let it go out in the world, and it connects with an audience. And that audience, every person in that audience has a completely different experience and interpretation because they're seeing it through their lens, and it's giving them what they need. And they might have the completely wrong interpretation of what your song means or what your novel meant or what that TV show was about or whatever. But it's not wrong because it's what that person like needed to get out of it. Yeah. And once you let it go out in the world, you just kind of got to take your hands off as an artist and be like, yep, all right, well, if that's how you interpret it and that's how it helped you through your day, dope.
Yeah. You create a lot more that way. You know what I'm saying? Being attached, but not being so attached. It's like mama bird and his baby bird. You got to just, you know what I mean? Throw it out there. If it flies, cool. If it not, then like make some more.
Totally. And
kinda
it
Saw a
dark.
bird
goes
just
to
fall
show.
straight.
So dark,
Well,
right?
that wasn't a hit, I guess. It just
That's
hit
the that's the
ground.
song that you think is gonna be the one. That's the one that falls out the nest straight
sure.
down.
Yeah.
But man, that's one thing too, like reflecting back, you know, when the panoramic started and I was just very much in my zone and you know, I felt like everybody was a little more disconnected. I felt like there was such a creative rut and kind of coming out of that. And like now, excuse me, now I don't even kind of want to work by myself anymore because just having somebody in the room to be like, oh man, I relate with that, or like, oh, I really fuck with that line, or that makes a lot of sense to me, just to get that like little bit of encouragement when you're going through the process really fires you up and makes an awesome idea. And it also just goes to show that like, you know, like I grew up in Canada, y'all are in the States, and like even though we've lived vastly different lives, there's still some like baseline human emotions. Like if you talk about love or pain or whatever, like all of us got our own interpretation of that. And it just like, I don't know, it just goes to show we're not really that different at the end of the day when it comes to the to those baseline emotions. Like when that shit really hits you in the feels of like, man, I'm feeling heartbroken or whatever, like just resonates with everybody.
For sure.
And
Like,
the realer you can get, it's like everybody wants to hear that. It's just, you know.
yeah, and it's, I mean, we're definitely not that different internally. You know what I'm saying? Like externally, I mean, we're always taught, and it's reinforced to focus on external, focus on what you look like, what it sounds like, what it's packaged in, all of that. But like the internal matters too. You know what I'm saying? And that's where, you know, because I mean, it's capitalism. We got to make money off of this thing, but that's where, you know, a lot of people that like, I feel like enjoy their music career or like really feel like they have control over it. That's where they create from, or that's where they go for it. They're like, you know what, let me just dig inside and put this out instead of like trying to like, you know, put a pretty bow on it so it can go somewhere.
Yeah, it's something I've been thinking about a lot lately where like nowadays music sounds so good, and like I feel like hip hop especially is just like almost a cheat code to music. Like the trap drums just always sound good over anything. Rapping just sounds cool. And then, you know, people will take like the front facing kind of wrapping paper of the package and then just be making shit that sounds cool. Or like in the EDM world, just like making shit that sounds cool. And then like somebody will come out with a song that's not even objectively that cool production wise, that doesn't have all the shit that we as producers get caught up in, but they'll just say like a real ass statement, and you gotta pause the song. You're like, fuck, man, like, where are my priorities at? Like, why am I focused on like mixing and shit? This guy just like says some real shit. Like, man, I had a conversation a while back with a friend, and he says some shit. He's like, he was talking about like going on dates with chicks and stuff. And he's like, man, like, honestly, he's like, I get kind of nervous when I know she wants to smash the first time. Cause it's like, I start like feeling some kind of way and I get a little anxiety. I'm like, man, that's real as fuck. And I never would have said that. And that like, not that I'm ashamed of that feeling or whatever, but it's like, I don't even feel like tapped into that side sometimes because I'm like focused on, all right, I'm gonna make the love song and I'm gonna try to do the thing and I'm gonna try to resonate. And then he just says some real ass shit and you're like, man, that could be a whole ass song right there. And I know so many people would be like, man, I've been in that situation. I relate with that at least once.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the best place to create from. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's weird. You know, we talk about it all the time. Where it's like, you know, we've seen like reports about it all the time, or like, oh, some such and such has a ghostwriter, such and such doesn't know, such and such songs are bad now because they not right from there. They haven't actually done that. They just have been around people that have or whatever. But like, I feel like we make the best music when we just, you know, do what we know how to do, or create from what we know, from the thing that we know. And I think you live a better life if you. I mean, it's always room to expand and like grow and, you know, become more knowledgeable, or whatever. But if you don't like use the pieces that you already have instead of always trying to grab new ones, you'll just always have a pile of new stuff that you have to learn instead of like, you know what, I do know about love. I do know about heartbreak. I do know about being left at the bus stop. I do know about, you know what I mean? I do know about these simple little things, and somebody out there knows about those simple little things too. I know about ramen. top ramen, and then learning how to make, you know what I mean, learning how to make it, learning how to make it taste good, even though I didn't want it. I know that's a song somewhere. And somebody's like, yeah, I love ramen. You know what I'm saying?
No, but actually though, I love ramen.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I'm not even kidding. Okay, so sidetrack just really quick. If make like a pork shoulder in a crock pot and make tacos out of it, but then save like all the trimmings and everything that was in the bottom of that crock pot with some meat, put that in a Tupperware. Later, take just like a little scoop out of there, put it in a bowl, make ramen and pour it on top over just like the cold stuff that you took out of the Tupperware. It'll heat up the meat and all like the trimmings and stuff will make like a delicious broth. Little sriracha on top. You have like a 5-minute bomb ass lunch.
My man just became a chef, boy.
Man,
everything I can cook.
Fire, man.
I went to a festival with Rip Kenny. I went to a festival with Rip Kenny this summer called Any Patch of Grass, and each night at the end of the festival, this dude just had like the ramen station set up with a camp stove, and I was like, "Oh man, I'm kind of tired. I might crash out." And he's like, "I'm making ramen." I'm like, "Well, I ain't that tired. I mean, I guess I can sit here with some broth."
It's the perfect nightcap. It's just like warm. It's like a hug for your soul. And then you just go night and you wake up the next day and do it all over.
You see, that's a whole song. We literally just made a whole song right here about ramen. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, but that's something that he knows, he's passionate about. Like, he gets it, he understands. You know what I mean? Like, you can make a whole like vibe out of that. Even if
I eat my top ramen at night.
There it is. You know what I'm saying? But that's gonna be a moment for somebody out there somewhere. You know what I'm saying? No, more of that. Like we only have like right now. You know what I'm saying? So
I mean, our homie Latney, first song I ever heard of his was this track Kombucha. And I was like, oh shit, a rapper rapping about kombucha. Oh, I'm definitely following this guy. And he's the homie's homie. Oh, well, I'm gonna know him anyways. But like, he caught my attention because it's like, who raps about kombucha? This guy. And I'm here for it.
Yeah, that sounds like something I fuck with already. And man, I feel like that whole idea of just like find that point of relatability, whatever it is. Maybe you've gone through the same thing, but I feel like when you go through your producer phase and you're caught up in learning FL Studio and shortcuts and mixing and mastering and blah blah blah, it kind of almost moves you away from the substance aspect of it. And if you find just that one point of relatability, like Evan, I was doing my feedback stream last night, and I was just like putting some shit on while people were like getting in the chat, and I see you repost like a Paramore remix, and I'm just like, this is exactly what the fuck I'm talking about. Like, everybody's trying so hard to make like the cool thing, the like sick thing, have a sicker flow, have sicker sound design, have whatever, and it's like, man, this person took a Paramore remix, and I was like, man, I remember when that song was like out in 2012 or whenever it was. Like, I have to check it out. Yeah. It's not like no marketing required, no selling me on it, no nothing. It's like, man, that instantaneously is a point of connection that's like powerful. And you're like, oh, you fuck with that? Oh, I fuck with that. Or like, oh, you listen to this artist? That artist meant so much to me growing up or whatever. So that's lacking, I feel.
It's just weird. It's weird how it just goes so much deeper once like that initial wall is knocked down. Because that's how I met a lot of my producer homies. That's how I met a lot of friends. That's how, I was able to, go somewhere hours away and like connect with somebody still, or like my music meant something to them. You know what I mean? Like, and it's dope because when you do start like, investing in yourself, taking yourself seriously, and like, having a little bit more confidence to go out and play in this and that and third, it's like you meet people who will come up to you and just be like, yo, that thing that you made, that one, whatever, like that's my favorite, you know what I'm saying? Like, because and then they end up sharing a story that is like completely left side. Like, yo, we're in a club talking about like childhood things and like what you experienced and how it got you through this, it's your parents separating or this bully at school or whatever. And it's like, I had no idea like we could get this deep in a club. You know what I'm saying? Like it's amazing because it kind of just pulls you out of like reality for a little bit and puts you in that like that consciousness of or that space of like being able to connect with somebody on a different level than just like, oh yeah, you look cool. Oh, you look cool too. Oh yeah, your music's dope. Oh yeah, your music's dope too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, and it's all about
Yeah.
knocking down. I feel like you can get anybody if you just knock down that initial wall. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah. And
musically
sometimes
or yeah.
I was gonna say sometimes I think coolness is that wall that we put up. Like, oh hey, look at this coolness. Like, ooh, the 808 bendy, right? The 808 bendy. And yeah, everybody loves a bendy 808, but like, why?
Yeah.
And what are we given? So like, what's that connectivity that you're talking about comes through the authenticity and the vulnerability that we've been talking about, right? So like, I'm curious, like for you, like what are some like authentic music moments like for you, whether it was like what somebody else did that just like hit you right in the heart, or like something specific that you did that that you found out later really connected with somebody.
So I live for like I guess, and this is it's funny. Like the absence of music is still music. You know what I mean? So
Mm.
I live for those moments inside of like production, inside of songs, like when you like hear everything or like the composition is completely full and all of a sudden there's this big rest or like there's this big like moment where things are taken. It's almost like, EDM right before the drop, you know what I'm saying? Where it's just
Mm-hmm.
like you're floating for a little bit and then like, you know what I'm saying? That's my favorite thing because it's like
Yeah.
you forget that moment of time is still music. That moment, that whatever is like, you know, whatever's happening in that moment is still music. Now, if you're listening to it on like earphones or whatever, streaming it or whatever, then like it's almost like that moment. Well, that moment of silence can be replicated, but like the moments of silence that we have in life can't be. You know what I'm saying? Like those quiet moments where we're just kind of sitting. That's the type of music that can't be recreated. You know what I'm saying? I love stuff like that because it's that moment where like you feel like you don't have anything or you feel like everything's been taken away, but like it makes you kind of think about, okay, well, what is here? There's some peace here. There's some like solitude here. There's an emotion here. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. That's what I live for. And then too, like, really, really, really good like vocal. Well, let's see if I can put this. Really good vocalists that know how to like perform acrobats with their voice, like
Mm-hmm.
people like Peter Collins, people like Yeba. Um, who am I thinking? Who else am I thinking about? Jasmine Sullivan, people that can just like go up and down and sideways and but still make you like feel something when they're singing with just their voice. My favorite like song to listen to or that like just conjures up so much emotion because of the performance is My Mind by Yeba. It's like a soul fair concert or whatever. It's like one of those acoustic concerts or whatever. It's just her and the guitar, but like the guitar is like playing a simple progression, right? It's over and over, it's repetitive, but like everything that she does with her voice, like takes you here, brings you down, brings you to the left, brings you to the right. You know what I'm saying? That's the stuff I live for, and that's the kind of like elements I try to like pull from and put it in my production as well. So you'll hear like a random dropout here of like some elements to like highlight. Oh yeah, this thing's happening still. Here's the rest of the beat. You know what I mean? You'll hear that stuff in my production too. So.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool. That's really powerful what you said on that moment of silence, especially in life, is like one of those unreplicatable things
Mm-hmm.
that still digesting that almost. That's like such a good point. Like the silence, when you use the silence as an instrument, it's like the most impactful thing.
Yeah.
It's the lack of vocal runs in a certain section that really makes this one here hit. It's the lack of instrumentation here that really make these hit. And sometimes, I think producer intuition is just like, oh, it needs something more. So let me add something. And it's
Yeah.
like, oh, well, yeah, it does need something more, but it could be silence too.
And more
Yeah.
space.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I say like composite, like really diving into like composition. And when I was in undergrad, and being able to teach more ensembles and put more things together, made me realize like, oh, they are utilizing so much silence, but it's making everything else scream so loud and making you pay attention, either here or not pay attention. You know what I'm saying? To like, or pay more attention to what's not going on instead of like, you know what I mean? It gives your brain some time to rest, because like if you're a musician, or if you're like a audio file, then like stuff that sounds really really good is like very stimulant. You know what I'm saying? It brings you up. It's like, oh my god, this is amazing. When you take it away, it's like, all right, cool. Let's bring you down a little bit. Let's calm you down, or like let's make you realize that there are other things happening here. You know what I mean? Like then bring it back later on.
So I'm curious to ask you, so growing up, whether it was from the church background or just discovering new music as you were growing up, do you got like a couple like top most influential artists when you like heard their shit, you're like, oh man, I want to do that, or you pull like heavy influence from, or they just derailed you from whatever you're doing?
All right. So we used to have to sneak and listen to hip hop music, right? Because my mom was an evangelist, and well, at the time she was a minister, and she was one of like the singers at the church. Like she had a really powerful. My mom was a very really powerful soprano, so she's like, she had a little bit of clout. You know what I'm saying? So and then my brothers were the musicians. So like everybody had to be perfect. We were in one of those like very oppressive type of non-denominational type of churches, whatever. We're all healed now. It's good. But no, we couldn't be caught listening to the devil's music or secular music or whatever. Even like Kurt Franklin was a little bit too edgy sometimes. You know what I'm saying? But like, so we used to sneak and listen to like hip hop music and mixtapes, and that was back when the mixtapes were really popping and everything like that. My oldest brother, never forget, he introduced me to the Locks, Data Kids, Sheet Loops, and Styles P. And I was just like, this is what this is? What? This is amazing. And like the use of samples and the vocal cadences and how they put everything together. I was just like, oh, I'm doing this all the time. And then I got introduced to Ludacris. And Ludacris was like one of my favorite artists growing up. You know what I'm saying? Just because, again, the acrobatics that he does with his voice, like his cadence isn't normal. You feel me? What else? Yeah, like a lot of I think his first album with all the skits that he had on there, I was like, oh man, like nobody's
Where
doing
did that stuff go? I love that stuff.
Yeah, but it gives you a different like, oh, this is music too. This is a part of it too. You know what I'm saying? They created special stuff for this. Who else growing up? I remember those two specifically, like in my like early discovery stages. Like when I got further down the road, like when I was introduced to T-Pain, I was like, it was just one of those really relatable artists. I was like, yo, we're going through the same type of thing. We make the same type of music. Like the man is a legend in his own right. You feel me? Like
awesome dude too.
So yeah,
I love seeing him stream and shit. He's just
bro. He's so funny. He's like, but like it's the attention to detail in his music and like his ad libs and like all of that stuff that like was like, yeah, I do a lot of the same things. You know what I'm saying? I do a lot of the same whatevers. And then like, and it was T-Pain for a while. It was just like, yeah, this is the guy. And then I found out he produces some of those records. He does all the vocal engineering and stuff for those records. It's like, yo, this guy does everything. You know what I'm saying? Who else? Yeah, that's for the artist side. Like for the producer side, it was always Timbaland, Pharrell, and Ryan Leslie. It was always those three.
That's a good trifecta right there.
Yeah. Timbaland, of course, for the Missy Elliott was very influential to me. Who else? I'm drawing a blank. If you didn't ask me, I would have known. But yeah, it's those people. It's that era from like the 90s, and I wouldn't say early 2000s because I wasn't necessarily into the whole snap and roll phase. Who would have thunk that like what happened in the early 2000s would be like the trend for for 2020 and all that beyond? Crazy. But yeah, those people that were like, you know, kind of out the box or kind of like, you know, center but slightly to the left. You know what I'm saying? It's like who took it just that far, a little bit further. You know what I'm saying? I definitely admired Ryan Leslie's career, like the just tenacity that he had. You know what I'm saying? He was, from my memory, he was one of those first producers that was really like, you know, taking videos of him producing in the studio. You know what I'm saying? Timbaland doing the same thing. You know what I'm saying? Timbo more or less for like just the cadences and the bounce and the drum work that was happening. You know what I'm saying? And then Pharrell just all around. You know what I mean?
Legend.
Pharrell's just crazy with it. You know what I'm saying? So like those people were the ones that I was like really heavily influenced by. Then again, just remember like I couldn't listen to a lot of that stuff because I was like ducking and dodging and sneaking.
Yeah, do you feel like that adds a layer of like mystique or like pull to it where you're like, oh man, it's like sacred time when I can listen? Yeah, for sure. I can imagine.
Oh yeah, like I didn't have an iPod for the longest time, right? But I did have this very cheap, but my mom spent her hard-earned money on. I appreciate that, mother. MP3 player that I would load up songs from. Don't Come Get Me, LimeWire.
Oh yeah.
Oh, of course.
Oh yeah.
Load up that MP3
Classic.
player with like song after song after song after song. The weird, I'm gonna put this out here. The Thong Song was one of my favorite songs, not because of the content, but because of the music. Like
Same.
It's catchy.
that drum pattern, I've never heard before. You know what I mean? Just how it would just going, and then the strings, legendary to this day. You hear those strings, you know what song is playing.
Man.
You know what I'm saying?
Man.
And then the
Yeah.
video was crazy too. But like just those elements of art that was put into it. Forget the song because the writing. If you like now, because I'm older and I'm more conscious, the writing, there's nothing there. He says the same thing over and over and over. But like the emotion put into like the beat and then the attention to detail with the video, like made for a wonderful package. So you wouldn't even think about the word. You were like, ooh, oh, you know what I mean? So
I feel like a lot of music from that era of like the early 2000s, like the club, like the hip hop and rap, like club music. Like it's funny, like I'll associate it nowadays with like middle school dance music.
yes,
Like
it was everybody's
just, like,
middle
stuff,
school dance.
yeah, just kids are just grinding to like.
Yeah,
I swear to God, like there's a reason. Like if you see like a dance scene in like a movie nowadays, they still play those songs that you remember hearing at those dances because there's just something that works so well about them. They're so catchy. It's like an infectious vibe. I feel like that is semi unique to that era to have so many jams that were like actually timeless but also worked in the club. It's so strange to say that, but it's true.
Dude, like when I was DJing, again, this is like 2013 to I mean up until now, honestly, 2019 whatever, before everything ended. My sets would consistently, and I mean every night without fail, I would kind of play the same songs, right? It was always early 2000s like Usher. Like you don't have to call early Chris Brown, or like early Missy, early like what do you say? Work It still gets people going. That's still like that. You can like hit play on that, and no matter where you are, you're losing your mind.
Yeah, I played a rooftop barbecue in Seattle this summer, and that song went off. Everybody started jumping up.
I play In the Club by 50 Cent. People still lose their mind. They're like, oh, it's your birthday. Like,
yeah, you hear those strings and you're just like, you're done.
Like the rest of the song has nothing to do with it's your birthday, but like that's all everybody remembers. Go shawty, it's your birthday. They won't sing the rest of the song. They won't know what's happening for the rest of the song, but they will like lose their mind to that part of it. Lean with it, rock with it, snap your fingers, Lil Jon, like all of that stuff. You can literally go into a club, and if you didn't have any DJ experience, go down the list of early 2000 songs and play them back to back.
Yeah,
they'll pay
seriously.
you. They'll pay you and actually come back. I promise you.
Yeah, they will tip you.
They will tip you. Well, like, oh my God, you were amazing. Because like I went through like, you know, kind of like you know, a battle in my head of like, no, I'm a DJ, so I gotta break new music. I gotta expose people to new music. People don't want that. They want either what they were listening to on the way to the club, or they want that nostalgia. Nostalgia is always going to sell, but like, and it's great. Like so what I started doing too while I was DJing was like remixing older songs or remixing some of the newer songs, like making a twerk mix to it, making a trap mix to it or whatever, and then playing those and kind of confusing people. You can see like the confused look on their face, but it's like, those are the right words, but this beat is okay. Like, you know what I mean? So it worked out. It ended up working out. But.
I mean, you mentioned Lean With It, Rock With It. I was at Subtronic's show on Friday night. One of the biggest dubstep DJs in the world. Like, the whole show is the hardest headbang, you know, electronic, grimy music. Opened his set with Lean With It, Rock With It. And a crowd full of kids that were born the year that shit came out went absolutely bananas for it, singing along, like hands in the air.
Yeah.
Was it just the original? No remix?
No, I mean, he dropped into the remix. He had like the acapella playing there for a minute. It was just like the acapella, and then it built up and then into a dubstep drop like you would. But like,
which one are you talking about? Which Lean With It, Rock With It?
Yeah, you're on the wrong one.
Maybe I am. Either way,
you're talking about Do It by Cherish.
Do It too. Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
But either way, that nostalgia.
Yeah. But even, bro, like I'm telling you, like Atlanta was on in the future, like way before we got there. You know what I'm saying? Like everything, but also during that time, everything was a dance too. You know what I'm saying? Soulja Boy, Franchise Boys, Cherish, Sierra, like all of those people, every one of their songs was like, yeah, this is a bop, but this is also a dance too. So you can go to the club and still dance. You know what I mean? I don't know what's happening today, but like, you can go to the club and still dance, or you have like some moves to do when you get to the club. You know what I'm saying? Like, but the Cherish song, like, I don't think Cherish had like a very long career, but like that song, the fact that song is blowing up now just because of the dubstep remix is crazy. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Cherish and Atlanta and the guy who made the remix too. So
yeah,
man.
What are your plans for this year as far as where you want to take your music, as far as any lessons you picked up from last year that you're trying to move forward with in this year? Where are kind of your goals now, and what are you hoping to achieve?
You know, I realized, and it's a slow realization, like, when I say this to everybody, you got to realize, like, you can have a group of people around you, but this is kind of also your thing. And because there's no label to save you, or there's no like, you know, safety net that you can kind of fall on when you're doing this, and you got to kind of be self-sufficient with the whole thing. That means ensuring that your music comes out, ensuring that the mixes get done, ensuring that, like, you know, the business happens and all of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like, again, no one's coming to save you, but you can also still create like a safe haven for yourself while you're waiting for this, I guess, support to come, or waiting for the backing to come, because that's what a lot of these people are doing now. And the pandemic has kind of showed us that, you know, and like, forgive my words, like the record label is kind of dead now. You know what I'm saying? The whole way of like music being done the way it was pre-Panda like, no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The traditional sense of a record label, it does the model doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah, and it really doesn't make sense now because of NFTs, because of streaming services and all of this other stuff. Like, you can literally create your own, you can create your niche and feed that niche and have a successful music career. You know what I'm saying? So, going back to the question, my goals for this year is to, I guess, to do more of that. Definitely creating more music, of course. And that's going to happen just regardless. But being more aware of, like, I guess being more aware of like where that stuff is going, or definitely putting it where it should be, or collaborating with people that are already in motion. You know what I'm saying? Like we meet a lot of people and we want to help everybody, right? That's where we're musicians, we're creatives. That's what we want to do. We want to meet a lot of people where they are, but you realize too, when you meet people where they are, you're not by force or anything like that. When you meet people where they are, you're kind of, going off of your course too. You're kind of going out of your way to, like, pick them up, and not drag them, but bring them along on your journey or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you've been making music for umpteen years, and then somebody who just started yesterday is trying to figure it out too, but like, you want to help them because you want them to be up to you, it's gonna divert a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Not saying you shouldn't or you can or whatever, but for me, because I am the type of guy that will like go out of my way to really like be there, help somebody make their first steps. But I've realized I've done a lot of that, and like I neglect mine in the same, I neglect my career too, and neglect my path too.
Yeah, you just got to be conscious of like you got a certain amount of time you can put in each bucket, right? Like for yourself, for passion, and like helping people and hanging out with your friends. 'Cause it's fun to make music, but you just gotta like be conscious of like how much time is being spent and try and regulate that best you can, because you need all of it, right?
Right, and that's the thing. You need all of it, but like we have a tendency, because of perception and things that we create in our head of how people are going to respond to it or whatever, we have a tendency to just be like, well, let me just spend a whole bunch of time over here, so when it's all said and done, no one can say, oh, he didn't help. I did. Look at all this time I spent. But then you realize at the end of the day, nobody really cares how much time you spend on something as long as it's done.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, nobody cares about how much energy you put into it, how much emotion you put into it or whatever. It's done, right? Yeah, it's done. Okay, cool. Let's do the next thing. You know what I'm saying? The more I realize that about, like, that's how people are kind of living their own lives and going about their own path, the more I start to do it myself. And again, it's not to be negligent of like what other people are going through or whatever, but it's to put more emphasis on what I want to do, because at the end of the day, I have to, pay my bills. Paying bills is ghetto, but I have to pay my own bills. I have to, keep a roof over my head. I got to keep this music train going. You know what I'm saying? And now realizing there are so many other avenues of music. Like, you don't have to just, you don't have to just work with artists. You know what I'm saying? There's this the world of sync is just huge. And then like, because of the pandemic, a lot of people are starting to just spill information about it. Oh, you can get into sync this way. You can get into sync that way. You can meet this agent, that agent, whatever. I have my own kind of like, music stuff going on too, in my own brand, trying to build up my own brand. You guys see my logo and everything. Oh,
yeah.
You guys see my logo and everything. I do this show every Tuesday. I'm doing it tonight. Every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, called Smart Wave Radio, for artists, producers, and songwriters. I'm using that as a conduit to, put more eyes on my brand and what I got going on. So when I do release something, I have a group of people that's like, oh yeah, I heard you talking about that. Oh yeah, you spoke about it. You know what I mean? And then also using whatever influence that I do have to, push my career and push, other people's careers forward. At the end of the day, we're all trying to make money and just do this for a living, because that's just the dream. It's not because we want to be lazy or we don't want to do anything else. This is where our passion is. You know what I'm saying? And to give that passion to Amazon, or give that passion to, for lack of a better example, give it to a classroom, give it to whatever that you're not necessarily passionate about, but you're doing just to get by, takes away from the passion that you could be using to, make your career blossom, or just, become a better version of yourself. You know what I'm saying? I think a lot of people forget that when they're in the grind, but when you're grinding yourself away too. You're grinding and you become smooth and you don't have anything to grab onto. So it's all, of course we all say, oh, it's all about balance. Like, of course it's about balance, but it's about being real about it too. It's a reality out here. We all understand we have to make money in the culture that we live in, and until we don't have to anymore, then you know what I mean, we got to be conscious about the things that are going to put us in the best position possible. So this year I got a couple of releases coming out. Dropping one on February 22nd and another one, instrumental on February 22nd, and a single on March 21st. Well, March 1st.
Hey.
And that's gonna be my plan, man. I'm just gonna get this music to people. Again,
Hell yeah.
expand my brand. I do audio mixing, recording, and mastering here at my studio. Finding more clients, expanding that whole thing. Because again, you realize like no one's coming to save you, but people are gonna pass by. And if you can grab a hold of those people that are passing by and say, "Hey, you look like you need a mix. Hey, you look like you need some help with that production. Hey, you look like, hey, you know what I mean?" And it's the right people. Eventually, you do enough of those, your credits will stack up, and you'll be like, "Oh, you did that too. Oh, you did that too. Oh, I need you on this project. Oh, I gotta have you on this one. Oh, I need you to come. I need you to come here. Hey, we can fly you out here so you can, you know what I mean." That's where I wanted to. The ultimate goal is definitely to like move out of this country and just be kind of just a traveling musician and a traveling producer, because it's I get energy from being in different places and creating with different different people. So
Man, that really that really resonates, especially we were saying in the beginning, kind of losing my train of thought here, but damn, you were just talking about
These morning episodes, man.
Yeah, for real.
Need a second cup of coffee.
Nah, man,
Cheers.
shit, that resonated so much too. Oh fuck, I'm gonna come back to it, but you said some shit there when you were talking, and I was just like, oh man, that brings it back to the beginning of the episode. We were talking about something, and about capturing the people as they're passing by, right? That's one of my biggest regrets, being 10 years deep. And when you said in the beginning, like, man, I wish I wasn't so self-conscious to put shit out, or like anybody listening, like, for real, just start getting that shit out there. It doesn't need to be perfect. It's about the journey and getting the people along the way and building the relationships. And I always think like my homie's super into crypto, and when he was like trying to like, convince me to get in on it, he's like, man, don't worry about timing the market. It's time in the market. And I was like, man, that applies to so much. Like your music, like that perfect release that I've been saving, that you've been working on for fucking 2 years too long, is like, that shit does not matter. It matters more that shit would have been out for the 2 years and captured like 10, 20 people, whatever, that would have followed you along on that journey.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'll give you this too.
Yeah.
So I have a Christmas song out. It's
Hey.
a remix. It's Trap's favorite. I have a remix of "God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen," right?
My jam.
It's 2020. Well, the last time I did a little push, or last time I talked about it, was 2021. I made that song in 2018. I made it and put it out in 2018. And every year I've like posted it, said I did it, made a little video, whatever. Every year. Nobody noticed it until 2020, I believe it was, or 2019 or 2020, when I like got some stuff, started to put some some more videos behind it and just like talking about it more. I was like, man, I made this song 3 years ago. I made it song like 2-3 years ago. You know what I'm saying? But it's the fact that it's been out. You know what I'm saying? It's the fact that it's like it's there for people to consume. You know what I'm saying? And when I talk about it, it's like, oh, I don't have to like wait for it anymore. You know what I'm saying? I can just go listen to it. Or by now it's gonna end up on something random. Somebody, oh yeah, that's your song? Oh yeah, that's you? Okay, yeah. I do like that. I do like this. I do like that. And I wanted to say this too. This whole thing's about trust, you know what I'm saying? Like we know each other, so like I invite all three of you over. If I cook, you're gonna eat it. But like some rando persons out of the blue on the sidewalk is like, hey, come over and eat at my house. And you're gonna be like, oh no. No, I don't know if I should do that just yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, what's your first name? Can you give me that at least so I know? But like, it's a trust thing. So you build people's trust by putting stuff out. I hate when people say this, but some stuff you got to give away for free, whatever. But definitely know your worth out there, people. Being available, like all that stuff in the beginning, is to get people to trust you. And again, boundaries with stuff like that. Don't be like me and give all of your time away and then be upset later on.
I felt that too.
Okay. Boundaries with all of that stuff, but it's all about getting people to trust you. So when you do actually do something that's big or whatever, the trust is already there. They know it's going to be quality. They know it's going to be something to kind of marvel because they've seen you do it before, or they've watched you kind of like be consistent about it. So, and even with like merch and all that stuff, like if I can't trust you, I'm not going to buy your merchandise. You know what I'm saying? If I can't like trust that, like you're gonna, because I mean man. Because like I'll say a line and I'll like think of something deeper and I don't want to go there, but like it's just the world that we were kind of born into, where like if I give you money, that means I trust you, but it shouldn't be that way. I should just trust you because I feel like you're a good person, or I feel like whatever. But I mean, we give money. Money means trust, so like we can't force people to give you like or pay for it, do whatever if they can't trust you. We give money to all these brands all the time because we trust them, or somebody told us to trust them. But like, you know what I'm saying? And if you, and honestly, you know what? Let me take that point right there. If you kind of think of your music, think about what you're doing as a brand, like something at Walmart or something like a Chick-fil-A or something like that, then like you'll kind of treat it with a little bit more respect, and then you'll start to like build that trust yourself. Like if people can trust you like they trust Amazon to deliver their packages, they're gonna buy from you. You know what I mean? They're gonna be right there when you on your release date. They're gonna be right there when you say you got a concert coming up. They're gonna be right there. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't take the time to build that trust with people, and it's a slow start. I feel like a lot of people like think, oh, let me stream for a year or two, and then like they're gonna come. Like, nah, sometimes they don't come to year 3 or 4 or 5. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people don't believe or trust you. And sometimes for us that causes us to kind of stop or like, slow up wherever. It's like, oh, it didn't work this year. Or that didn't work these last 2 years. I mean, it's like, nah, keep doing the same thing, but just modify it a little bit. Which is what I did with my whole thing. That's where Smart Wave Radio came from. So I was doing something, and I thought I was doing the right thing, right? I thought I was like, going about it, doing it the right way, and I had to switch up some things. I didn't want to stop doing what I was doing because it was benefiting a group of people that I care about, and a group of people that I know care about me and what I'm doing. So it was mainly for them. You know what I'm saying? So I rebranded what I was doing, made the graphics and everything myself, as you see behind me, and I pushed it out as something different. And surprisingly, nobody like said, "Oh, we want the old thing back." They were like, "Oh yeah, you doing this now? Okay, cool. We're here every day, you know what I'm saying? Every Tuesday, they're there." But it's because I built trust with the other thing that I was doing. You know what I'm saying? I built trust. I gave them consistency through good times, bad times, good Wi-Fi, bad Wi-Fi, whatever. I gave them what they came for, good quality, and they know they expect that. So now when I say, hey, yo, I'm doing this blah, 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 or I'm doing this cook-up session, or I'm selling hats. You know what I mean? And people are like, okay, all right, yeah, I'll go look at
got a hat.
Yeah, he does. Trap bought a hat, but Trap trusts me, so
Exactly.
But Trap didn't buy a hat in 2016. I didn't have no hat in 2016, but Trap didn't buy a hat in 2016. You know what I'm saying?
The boy Tesco's wearing one of the hats of my merch right now.
You see what I'm saying? Like it makes me feel good that like my friend trusts me enough to buy from me. You know what I'm saying?
Agreed.
My friend not even trust me, the person. They trust the brand. They believe in the brand. They believe in me like they believe in Apple or Microsoft or Tesla or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And that's where I want to go. That's where I want people to believe. That's where I want people's mindset to be. Like, oh, I can depend on him like I could depend on my car to start. I can depend on him like I can depend on my coffee maker.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Those things. And if you become one of those, and like, it'll be nothing for people to call you and ask you to deliver something, and because they know you're going to deliver it. You know what I'm saying? Like, and the honest, yeah. Again, boundaries with those things. Like, you got to know when to say no. You got to know when, like, yes, I can deliver, but I can deliver next week when I'm in a better headspace. You know what I'm saying? But that's that. And now that is where I'm trying to like get myself to. The brand's there. Cool. Great. Wonderful. But my headspace has to be there too for it to, thrive and flourish or whatever. Because again, it's me and my ideas funding it and pushing it forward. You know what I'm saying? I'm not like waiting for Trap to say, all right, what are we doing next? You know what I'm saying? It's me thinking about, all right, what's the next move for my brand? What's the next move for this thing that I have to do? You know what I'm saying? So,
yes. Well, man, a lot of awesome stuff. And while we're on the topic of Smart Wave Radio and all that, Where can people listen to the station?
So Smartwave Radio is we stream kind of on all of the major streaming platforms. So I say like Facebook, YouTube, Twitch. Definitely follow my Twitch if y'all are out there. Everything is Smart Boy Beatz. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch.
With a Z on that.
Yes. Instagram and Twitter. So y'all, everybody knows that Periscope used to be like Twitter's thing, but for whatever reason, I could still stream to Twitter. So it's on every major streaming platform, every major social streaming platform. There we go.
Yeah.
You say streaming platform, people think like Apple
Spotify or some shit. Yeah.
Oh shit, man! Record it, put it out as a podcast. People bump it later.
Yeah, this Zencasters kind of put me on to something, so I might, start recording some of the audio.
Amen.
The worst part is I'm on an Apple computer. They're not the best for streaming, but we're making it work. We're making it work.
No?
Yeah.
I got a pretty decent setup going. Maybe I don't know. Maybe you're trying to do something more complex than me. But if I can help you out, man.
I think I got more stuff going than I need to at the moment. Like while I'm streaming, but I'll talk to you on the side about that.
All right.
Amen. And so, like, can people get their music on Smartwave Radio if they submit?
Yeah, man. So we do it every single Tuesday, right? Every Tuesday, unless there's like a holiday or like in December, we take a break. Every Tuesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. If you want to get your music heard on Smartwave Radio, all you have to do is go to smartboybeats.com. You scroll down until you see the marquee that says Smartwave Radio. You click on that and, make sure you read the instructions there. And then you click that link and that'll take you to our Dropbox where we take your submissions and send me 2 of your dopest joints. Don't just send one because, people might miss your first one. You know what I'm saying? You definitely want to have a second one in the chamber so they can like really, really get a taste of who you are. So at Smartwave Radio every single Tuesday at 8 p.m. And if you want to get your music heard, head over to smartboybeats.com. And if you want to get there like fast, smartboybeats.com/event with no S, event/Smartwave Radio. That'll get you there. And the links are on my socials as well, on my Instagram, my Twitter, and Facebook.
And that's all at Smart Boy Beats with a Z.
Yes, sir. But with a Z is not in the hashtag. Okay? It's just Beats has a Z on it, and everything else is spelled correctly. Because what? I thought like I should spell it weird, but it's like that wouldn't be really smart boy if you misspelled smart. Like, that's why that's the level of self-consciousness. Listen, that's the level of self-consciousness that I went through right before. Like I was like, yeah, I'm gonna be smart boy. I was like, should I spell it like correctly or?
Well, you can play into the irony too. It's like Lil Pump or whatever had that Harvard Dropout album, and Harvard is just like not even spelled correctly.
That's what I'm saying. Like it probably sold a lot because people just wanted to be there and say that's not even spelled correctly. Like you gotta appreciate those people inside of your niche too. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody's gonna be there, but somebody's gonna find something wrong with it. But,
I mean, if you're pleasing everybody, you're not doing it right.
See, you get it.
Yeah. Well, man, amazing conversation.
Yeah.
A lot of really dope stuff we talked about, a lot of real shit we talked about, and man, love to have you back on at some point too. And I hope all the best for your successes this year. Love that you got the release dates ready. One more time for the listeners, when are those 2 tracks dropping?
Yes, sir. So I got a track called "You Said You Love Me," dropping on February 22nd, right after Valentine's Day, where things started to dry up. No, I'm just joking. And I got another track dropping on March 1st, just in time for March Madness, called "Monumental," featuring my homie Question ATL. If you're trying to follow him, he's blind, but he's a ill. When I say ill, I mean nasty rapper and producer.
Yes,
so that's my boy Question out of Atlanta. He's like completely blind, but he's nasty with production and rapping. And then my international homie from the UK, Scatta, he's on there too. Scatta is his name. But yeah, that song was just special. Produced by myself and my boy Jubilee. So
sick.
Fuck yeah, man! Stoked to hear him.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I mean, shit. What else? It's a pretty good little bow on the package. Thanks for taking the time to join us today, man.
Yeah, for real, man.
No.
Thank you.
No, I appreciate y'all for having me, man. This is dope.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
And then the way we
And,
sign it out, we give him a peace
Ah.
and peace among worlds. All right, humans. Thanks so much for being here with us and with Smart Boy Beatz. Make sure to go, please, support that song that he's got going on, Asteroid Belt. That's a jam that he produced, super smooth vibe. You can hear it playing right behind me now. When you go over to his website to submit your music to Smartwave Radio at that link, you can also find links to his merchandise and like this cool hat. If you're watching it on a video version on YouTube or Spotify, check out this sweet tie-dye hat I got with this cool Smart Boy logo on it. And, while you're down there and the links and stuff, make sure you go support our sponsors like Dojo TV, where the Producer Dojo Senseis do free producer live stream classes. And, every couple of weeks, we do one of these live podcasts on the air so you can get in the chat with us on the private Discord you'll have access to and ask questions, follow along, drop gifts and jokes with us in the chat. It's great. You can also get up on Tesco's new Patreon channel that he just launched, where you can get educational content, his project files, behind the scenes footage, lessons, private lessons, track feedback, and access to his private Discord as well. The weekly download is where our mentor, Il Gates, has private weekly group lessons, and you can access over 250 more episodes in his archive. And for just $20 a month, that's $5 per new episode and free access to all of the other archived episodes as long as you are in the weekly download. And of course, guest practices where you can learn from Seth Drake at the Approach Institute. He's high-key the best engineer we know. And your first class over there with guest practices is free. And if you get as much out of it as I think you will, you can also sign up for the entire The Approach program, which, by the way, is incredible. I did it, really helped my engineering skills level way up, and it is so much cheaper than any audio engineering school you can imagine. Instead of going $40,000, $50,000, $80,000 in debt, it is a very reasonable price for the insane amount of knowledge you get from Seth Drake. And make sure to hit our website, thehumanmusicpodcast.com. You can find our socials there, and that's at Human Music Pod on Twitter and at The Human Music Podcast on Instagram. But till next time, y'all, when we got Metronome with us next week, I'm saying peace and peace among worlds.
I like it.